Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatītam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatītam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to the Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasishtha Mumukshu Vyavahar Prakarana, section 15. We are dealing with gatekeepers at the Palace of Liberation. It's a wonderful palace awaiting for you. But you have to learn how to bribe the gatekeeper. No bribing. No bribing allowed. Shri Vasishtha Uvacha Santosho hi param shreya Santoshaha sukhamuchyate Santushtaha paramabhyeti Vishrama arisudana. Vasishtha says, sage Vasishtha, O Rama, the destroyer of enemies. Enemies relate to always malas, gross impurities, anger, hate, etc. If you develop a deep interest in removing those impurities, then you are entitled to be called Shatrutapan, Shatrughna, destroyer of your enemies. How great! Heroism in you is addressed, that you are the destroyer. If people don't have the mature study, then they start looking at their muscles. O destroyer of your foes, O Rama, contentment, Sanskrit word santosh. Contentment is the highest blessing, param shreya. It is highest form of joy. The one who has attained santosh enjoys boundless peace. All miseries that arise out of distracted mind, they move away. Just let me reiterate some points. Out of 4 gatekeepers, first we described serenity of mind, shama. Next was vichar, how to allow your thought movement to go after the highest truth. Who am I? Start understanding that vichar. And third, not keeping the mind in a state of discontent and aiming at attaining absolute contentment. The whole process, santosh. Tosh term relates to satisfaction. Satisfaction in relation to objects of the world, in relation to your little progress, all that comes again, that tosh comes in 3 stages: tamasic, rajasic, sattvic. If you have succeeded in revenge and allowing your anger to flourish, then you have a kind of a contentment, tosh, tamasic. And that's demonia. That type of tosh is enjoyed by, in the storyline of Ramayana and Mahabharata, enjoyed by Ravana and all his associates. They enjoy that type of tosh. Hearing the enemy destroyed and so forth. Rajasic tosh, you develop fascinating idea in your mind to have a lot of trips, or even to go viral in the without doing anything important. The Rajasic type tosh. Sattvic, when you create good karmas. But santosh, that contentment that relates to sat, by realizing the truth, the contentment that enters your mind, that is santosh. Sat plus tosh. And that's the goal. So one needs to understand all about santosh and how to understand whether you are moving towards santosh or you are developing a false contentment. Shallow type of contentment is called tushti. And I will not go deep in more in detail. We are going into this subject now. One who is endowed with santosh attains supreme joy, the joy of rest, aram, vishram. Whenever you relax a little, it's called aram. Implying ola ramaka. We have invoked Rama. And when you have attained absolute rest, it's called Vishram. Eternal peace. One who has developed santosh or attained santosh, contentment, his chitta, his mind enjoys perpetual peace. Compared to that type of experience, the experience of immense glory, even if you were to attain the whole world as, even if you were a great emperor controlling the entire earth, all that glory and all that power, compared to that experience of boundless contentment, compared to that, all this is nothing. Doesn't require much rationality about it, much struggle. You can have all that, live through your life constantly calculating about your money, watching the money going here and there, go into court cases, live your whole day dismantling this, mantling that. And by the time you are a billionaire, you kick the bucket. What type of a life have you lived? But in your life, if you are finding even a little spot day by day for being relaxed, developing inner peace, radiating goodness, imagine what you are gaining, compare it with all that big, powerful gain, all that distracted type of power is nothing. Rather, it's a great misery. Anyone who has spiritual sensitivity, going after that type of power and fame and glory, is viewed like a miserable predicament. Those who follow that Rajasic type of prosperity, they do not possess Sanmati. Sanmati is intellect that guides you in a right way. Sanmati is the understanding that leads your soul to God realization. That type of understanding does not develop in your heart. But if you have developed that understanding that is leading you to the goal, which is absolute contentment, as you progress on the path, you will not suffer from sense of humiliation, degradation, being struck by lightning of grief. You will not live a life of agitation. Sanskrit word is udveg. Another variation of that is aveg. People live their life. Each time they have a lot of energy, they express that energy, expresses in udveg, aveg. You simply jump up, run around, as if you are going to accomplish something great. But you do nothing. The problem has come, someone has informed about a problem. You say, how dare that problem come? You lift up your stick or whatever you have. You start jumping around. That's called udveg. Now, if you have right movement, you develop utsaha. Similar appearance come in your body, you feel bright, become alert, but with a clear understanding that you are going to utilize your energy to resolve the problem. So that type of inner conviction spices up your appearance in a profound way. It's like a flower that shows up wonderful colors, but there is no fragrance. And whatever little it is poisonous. That's udveg. But utsaha, flower that is more intent upon expressing the fragrance. And automatically it will be showing its glory, its beauty as well. So try to understand the difference between aveg and utsaha. And minimize the aveg aspect and bring the utsaha aspect. When aveg aspect develops, you become nervous. So all the nerves begin to vibrate, resonate, become extremely excited. Utsaha comes, you become joyous. You have a challenge and you know how to meet it. Good fortune that you found the right confrontation. It's heroic. You bring heroism in your heart. It has a different attitude. adversities in your life. This is the ideal condition. When you have devotion to God, adversities don't come to thwart your heart, don't come to discourage you or drive you into misery. But adversities come to bring about, test your faith, your strength, and with a profound understanding you are going to see the faith in you win. To allow the faith to move and you just watch. Those who have sipped the nectar of contentment, for them all enjoyments of the world, worldly enjoyments, all mundane pleasures become so tasteless, not just tasteless, they taste like poison. And this is an echo of the statement, Sarvam Dukam Vivekina. If mind has been led to a state of discriminative knowledge, intellect has become clearer, and you are able to understand the difference between not self, between illusion and reality. When that type of understanding has developed, then all the possibilities of experiences that you can enjoy, led by karma, all those are viewed as poison. You don't want to get into karmic movement, no matter how great the experience you may get in the world. In other words, you don't want to incarnate. You want to put an end to the cycle of birth and death. One who has developed the quality of santosh, he does not live keeping the mind stressed about expectations and their fulfillments. For majority of people, that's the joy of life. Otherwise, one feels dead. What do you expect? And how long will it take for you to fulfill your expectation? So everyone is weaving the web of expectations, like a spider does. And everyone is a good spider. So, expectations. And led by expectations, when you find fulfillment, you become exceedingly joyous, perk up. But when your expectation is not fulfilled, then it's like something crashed on your head. You allow your nervous system, your whole mental personality to be greatly affected in both ways, fulfilling your desire, and you are affected in one way. Frustration of your desire, you are affected in another way. And that's the world you live in. You cannot have just fulfillment. Fulfillment one day and failment another day. But if you are developing the quality of santosh, you move away from both. And your fulfillment comes from your subtle revelation of who am I, your essential nature. Simple point. When you go to sleep, at that time you have moved away from all things that your mind was so involved in. The memories of your past, plans for your future, the guests that have arrived, and all the things that kept your life so joyous, or not joyous, it's full of struggle. All moves away when you are in deep sleep. And you don't really miss. If your sleep is healthy sleep, you wake up with recharged, extremely joyous, the type of refreshing experience you had, nothing could have given you that type. There's no medicine around there. Doctors have not yet found it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you can terminate your sleep. Just go on taking medicines. I'm joking. What I'm leading you to understand, day by day, in divine plan, you are led to that state where real happiness does not depend upon happiness. Real happiness doesn't depend upon the work of your senses, doesn't depend upon your mind, doesn't depend upon the world of time, space. Real happiness is totally beyond all that. Why can't you hold that in your daily life? But that's the big project in spirituality. How to let that reality become a part of your conscious attainment. Any attainment in the realm of mind and senses is a kind of a dream. It's affected by three faults called triad: seer, seen, and sight. In dream, you can study that three points easily. Dream subject is unreal. The dream world is unreal. Experiences are unreal. But as long as you are dreaming, who cares? You enjoy it. You are thrilled by anything that good happens in your dream. However, from a broader understanding, maturer understanding, no matter what you get in your dream and no matter what experience, that has not even a needle point of reality. All that is Maya, a display of magic. And exactly the same applies in everyone's life, day by day. And that type of understanding allows your mind to become profoundly prepared for a spiritual movement, the highest type of spiritual movement. The movement where your goal is not attaining objects. Your goal is not depending upon the world for your happiness. Your goal is discovering I am. His goal is waking up. Waking up from the world. Spiritual awakening. As long as the mind does not dive into the self and dissolve in it, so long mind contains vulnerable passages within itself And those passages become filled with thorny plants and poisonous plants of miseries. To understand this great philosophy and profound insight is presented in very simple little language. In other words, if mind is not being led to enlightenment, if enlightenment has not become your goal, the mind is harboring illusions. Those illusions will give rise to a lot of miseries. If you are not enlightened, you must know the miseries that await you cannot be described. If you want to understand this in a very profound way, turn your attention to those two great words, bhava pratyaya and pratyaya bhav. Bhava pratyaya means finding happiness in mental projections. That's bhava pratyaya. Your perceptions are based upon vrittis, thought waves. And pratyaya bhav, where thought waves, the projections drop away. The ordinary way to understand, you are watching a cinema show. There are different stages of your watching. In one stage, you are frightened with the show, a lot of terror. Now, another stage, it is a very joyous show. So you are very involved. Another stage, you have become bored with the show. And as you watch the show, no rasa, there is no, mind doesn't get any fascination. In the storyline, the wonderful scenes are coming. The great Dracula comes with blood dropping through his teeth. Everybody is on their seats, parked up. And you say, oh, they put the tomatoes in his mouth. I'm joking. The same scene enjoyed by people in a totally different way. Now, your mind in a little more maturer state simply sees the magic behind it and be amused by it. And simple point, nothing is really happening. You are just watching this screen. That's called pratyaya bhav, the whole projection process. You move away from it. In sleep, you move away, but you are not enlightened. You are trapped in a subtle way. You don't really move away. But you give a great insight into the possibility of moving away from all this world of time and space. With wisdom, with samadhi, you actually move away. The world, the whole mental process, mind itself subsides. Put it in another way, the subsiding movement of the mind is gradual, krama mukti. And that's what is a characteristic of real spiritual progress. But that's the goal. The goal is not to find something which your mind has imagined and stay with it. No matter how clever you are, all your expectations, the best of your expectations, are in the realm of dream world. It's not reality. Therefore, surrender to God has to become your guiding factor. Not let your ego be the dictator. Allow your ego to do all things that it has to do. But be a little detached from your ego. And so ego-based experiences of pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow, they don't disturb your inner contentment. The inward movement to God, nobody can take away. And that's you have to discover. Just as lotus in a lake receives inspiration from the rays of the sun and blossoms. In the same way, when contentment develops, as if the rays of light are allowing the lotus of your heart to blossom. In other words, your movement towards santosh brings about bhavana shuddhi, or it is characterized by increasing purity of your feeling. This is described in Uttarayanam, our northern path, when we come to a stage of bright half of the month, how the moon waxes day by day until it comes to full moon. Pure feeling, bhavana, pure feeling, begins to wax, begins to increase like the moon. The moon is a good simile. What happens to the sky as the moon begins to shine brighter and brighter. Similarly, when contentment begins to operate in your personality, the lotus within your heart begins to blossom. As if the moon is waxing within your heart until the moon comes to the full state. For those who are advancing on the path, attainment of contentment, perfect contentment, is not an impossibility, but rather it is impossible to not attain it. That is the goal of life, that is the reality of your personality. Therefore, the sun is shining bright all the time, and your heart has the opportunity, all the opportunity to blossom. In other words, there is subtle joy that operates through those who are moving Godward movement, in adversity or in prosperity. The dark night of ignorance and its ramifications do not thwart the blossoming of the heart for those who are following the path of santosh, contentment. Raj Yoga also has talked about santoshat anuttam phalalabha, anuttam sukhalabha. If you are developing contentment, the happiness that you get is incomparable, which has two meanings. If you are developing your spiritual progress, it must be founded on an understanding that whatever you have as your resources You should operate with it without creating in your heart anything negative. In other words, a feeling that all that I have, whatever I have, God has given. I have all the sufficient materials needed for my progress. I don't need to look at others and constantly complain, look at that person has so much. If I had that, I would have gone very high. So no comparison. Do not compare yourself with others and put yourself in a lower, degraded state. So that's the beginning of santosh. And then you begin to discover the happiness you are getting is so direct that you do not have to look at others' faces. Have you been happy like me? There's no comparison needed. And at the final level, attain God realization has no comparison. Nothing can compare with the highest goal. It's a humorous parable. During the midday in a hilly region, big hill, and on the hill, big forest, and in the forest, a big tree. On that tree, a very joyous big squirrel. In the afternoon, the whole atmosphere of nature was kind of sleepy. Even the mountain developed the idea, let me rest a little. But the squirrel started jumping and became especially active. The mountain said, you little squirrel, get out of my way. Don't make all this. You tiny little creature. And the squirrel listened, put the hands up there. Holding a nut in the hands and said, you mountain, you can hold all the trees on your head. Can you crack a nut? So don't you compare me with yourself. And that moralizing applies to every human being. You have all the resources which God has given you. Nobody else has the same resources. People can show different types of powers, but all that has to do with you. Use your power, your resources, and you have all the possibility to attain God realization. Do not compare. When the mind has become calm, relaxed, led by santosh, contentment, then the face of that person who possesses that mind, in that face, Goddess Lakshmi abides all the time. But figure out what does it mean. Think of face of Buddha. How that face has drawn countless people. Go on drawing them. You are counting money. How much money is made by all the offerings? I'm joking, completely joking. That's not real point. All that I'm implying, nothing is nothing is a greater source of prosperity, real prosperity, than reaching out to a state of possessing a face of Buddha, a face of Christ, a face of Rama, Krishna, a face that radiates calmness, stillness, universality, compassion. So if you are deeply concerned in beautifying your face, practice contentment. Even from a very practical point of view. Keep your face agitated every now and then. Then you have to hide many things of your face. But if you are joyous, kind, compassionate, radiating peace and understanding, God will provide, literally, the beauty that you deserve, and mystically endow you with something spiritual. And the real beauty is the spiritual beauty. So no matter how you look, it doesn't matter. But what you mean to yourself and to people around you. And what type of radiation, what type of joy you can share with others. Therefore, strive to find the joy that is inherent in your soul, the joy that is unexcellable, ananda, paramananda. And in order to discover it, exercise yourself, self-effort, to maintain contentment, practice of contentment by renouncing craving for worldly pleasures. Live a life dedicated to developing divine virtues and eradicating vices, negative qualities, anger, hate, greed. As a result, the full moon of contentment will shine in your heart, and all the glories of the earth will bow down before you. They will come to you as servants, seeking the opportunity of your favor. But if you don't have that, you will be possessing many things. But all those things are your master. The more you possess, the more masters you have gathered. And you become more and more like a little rabbit. Frightened, pressured. But that's the predicament. But the world doesn't see it. That's their definition of wealth, prosperity. They don't know people who have involved in it. What's the state of their heart? What are they experiencing day by day? Do they have the joy of little tenderness in their heart? The joy of seeing the world with a spirit of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. May all be happy, just like a mother would look at children. O Rama, he who has developed calm and relaxed mind, led by contentment, he who is endowed with supreme contentment, such a soul is adored even by gods and admired by sages and saints. And with this ends this third gatekeeper. Fourth gate will open tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.